All right. Rick, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Welcome, everybody. This is the second of our monthly series of spotlights on our candidates and on the Green Congressional Campaign Committee. Happy to have all of you here today. Great to see the familiar faces and even better to see the new ones. We will ask you to keep yourself muted until the question and answer part starts, and feel free to leave your camera on or off at your discretion. Um, my name's Rick Lass. I'm working with the Green Congressional Campaign Committee. I live in southern New Mexico, historic Apache homeland down here. I've been a Green Party member since 1995. I've been a local, state, and national party officer and a candidate campaign manager and a lot of other roles in various campaigns over the years. And I'm really enthusiastic about being a part of what I think is going to be a banner year for the Green Party in terms of our electoral successes. So look forward to chatting with you tonight and in the months to come. Hallie?
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I'm Hallie Karras. I'm a member of the GCCC, just joined actually well, I guess it was this year, but I started the process end of last year. I've been a Green since high school. My dad, Pete Karras, is one of our guests. So for purposes of the call, I'm going to call him Pete. But but it is my dad. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to a really good conversation with Pete and Chester. And then also, I think we'll have a lively discussion when the Q&A comes. So I would love for Rick, for you to maybe take a few moments and kind of talk about what you do with the GCCC and our fundraising efforts before we get into meeting the candidate and the campaign manager.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I'm the the fundraiser for the GCCC, and I do a lot of calling people and asking for money. I do organizing events like this. I am helping to get our job board up. I'm doing quite a few different tasks. Um, I one of my very early mentors told me that the Greens are really good at running a low budget campaign, but we just can't run a no budget campaign. And no matter how successful this committee is, we're going to raise for the entire country for all our candidates a fraction of the dollars that one Democrat or one Republican running for one seat is going to raise. But that's not going to slow us down. We're going to keep doing it, and we're going to do it, and we're going to use our ability to run low budget campaigns that we've learned over the years wisely. We're going to invest carefully in how we spend our money. We'll be talking later in the presentation about what we did in 2024 and how much bang we got for the buck, as the saying goes. So again, I'm really excited to be part of this team, um, and that's that for now. I'll have more time later, I'm sure.
Perfect. Well, Pete and Chester, we'd love for you to just take a few moments to introduce yourself, and then we'll get right into a good bunch of questions.
Sure, I can. Chester, can I start?
You can.
Okay. My name's Pete Karras, and Hallie is my daughter, and it is okay for her to call me Pete tonight, but only tonight, Hallie. There we go. I've been a Green since the year 2000. Independent politics member before that. I'm 66-year-old, and I've never voted for a Republican or a Democrat for president. Two-party system's a problem. Unfortunately, I was able to see that at a pretty young age and not forget it at a rather old age. But I'm a former elected Green. I was on city council for 3 terms in Racine, Wisconsin. So that was wonderful. It was a great experience. I've also had the opportunity to run not only my campaigns, but other statewide campaigns in Wisconsin and for some lesser and local offices, and most recently for Chester Todd, who ran in Wisconsin 1st District. We put this together February of 2024. We were talking one day. Chester's a good friend, and said, Chester, why don't you run for Congress? And, he thought about it for a minute and talked about it with the family and said, yeah, why not? And Chester turned out to be the easiest candidate to work with. We found ourselves on the same page. Chester had a clear message, never deviated from it. And, you know, I like to tell people, we talk about all these issues. Chester has lived them. And he's able to verbalize that. And he's an amazing person. So I feel fortunate to be able to work with Chester on this campaign.
Wonderful.
All
Chester.
right.
Oh, well, I'm Chester Todd. I'm 83 years old. Um, Community activist here in Racine, Wisconsin, which is, I have to mention, the second worst city in the United States for Black residency, which made it more important that I ran with the Green Party. I was very fortunate to get Pete as a campaign manager. Between him and my wife, I didn't have much of a choice of running because they teamed up on me. And but it was a great campaign for us to make the mark we did uh, in the first district of congressional district in Wisconsin. Uh, we did good. And when I say we, I really should say Pete, because he's more of a politician. I'm not a politician. I'm a community activist. Been a community activist since I was old enough to know what it meant. But all I can say is go green. I agree with Rick. We're not going to ever stop. You know, we can't afford to stop. The world depends on us, really. You know, for those who got that large of a view, the world really needs the green. Pass.
All right, Chester, thanks so much. And before we jump into the questions, I want to first announce Justin Beth is also here, or introduce, I should say. He's also a member of the committee. I'm glad to have you here, Justin. And I also, in my excitement to get started, forgot to mention, as part of tonight's fundraiser, an anonymous donor notified me that he would be willing to match up to $500 in donations that are made tonight. And as a result of this call, so every dollar you give is doubled tonight. So please put your pledge in the chat or go to the donation link that Star just posted in the chat, and let us know how you're going to be able to support this committee. We really appreciate your support. And with that, Helly, should we start on the questions for our campaign team?
Yeah, absolutely. So Pete and Chester, I'm curious, how did you approach building the team, your campaign's team? And how did you come up with your strategy when the campaign was getting going?
Sure. I'll take a first shot at that.
Yes.
We knew that we wouldn't have the resources of Republicans and Democrats, and we had some limitations, as all Green Party candidates do. So we decided to really focus on certain precincts and certain wards and see if we couldn't make the biggest impact there, not only in votes, but also in party building. It's a large district, you know, a congressional district has a lot of people. We decided to use a couple different tools to accomplish that. Well, I'll go back for 1 second to our campaign team. We did have some really great volunteers from the Milwaukee Green Party and the Wisconsin
Yes.
Green Party
Yes.
that helped us out on the ground, and we did have people on the ground. And when something had to be done, we were fortunate that they and some other people who came in during the campaign would really do anything for the campaign that they were physically able to do. So that was wonderful. But we did stress two things. We stressed visibility in these certain precincts. We had yard signs up throughout our targeted areas. We had 400 or 500 yard signs, and they were not your normal just vote Chester for Congress. These said, vote Chester Todd, equality, reparations. And so they were kind of in your face things, and it was wonderful to see those through the neighborhoods. In addition, we had a very strong digital team, which was able to produce several commercials. And we ran those on streaming TV and on YouTube and social media. And we also targeted those certain districts. So we built the campaign team around our campaign plan. And we wanted to see, we received 2.1% of the votes district-wide, which is a good showing. 8,000 some people voted for Chester. We were really happy with that. But we were getting 7 to 11% in those districts and precincts that we targeted. So what we did was really impactful. Our message got through. If we raised, I think, $14,000-15,000. If we would have raised more money, we would have expanded that and done even better. But that's the campaign in a nutshell.
I don't have much to add to that. That you covered the whole thing.
Well, Chester, the next question I think might be more up your alley. It's about campaign messaging and how did you sell the message and how did you hone the message to the audience in the targeted areas and the non-targeted areas? Could you help us out a little with how that process works?
Yeah, number one, we made our initial showing to the community at Juneteenth also, where people had a chance to really meet us because Pete had set up a tent and we had all the displays there. And if I could just throw this in, we had Democrats and Republican candidates avoiding our tent. They would walk right by it. But that's where I think the visual effect, having the tent set up, it didn't hurt with Pete and I both being familiar, people knowing us around the community. We had people stopping by. What is this? What is the Green Party? And I thought that was actually good. I think it's probably better that they didn't know who we were so that we could give them the straight up skinny. But yeah, the visual stuff was very important.
And Chester, I'll say that you were a master at staying on message. I mean, you really had a message of pointing out oppression and
Yeah,
inequality and pointing out as you would say, the bamboozlement of basically the Democratic Party.
well,
And
yeah,
that, or repeating that your message is over and over again, it sinks in for people. And you did a wonderful job with that.
yeah. Thank you. It's just the truth. And this is the way we presented ourselves in front of the audiences was we're here to tell you the truth. We have no reason to lie. We don't get lobbyist money. We don't get corporate money. So we don't have anything to lie about. We're just bringing it straight to you. You're being fooled, bamboozled. And it hit some people. Uh, we still got a lot of work to do yet, but we'll get our message over, us green people.
That's great. Sorry, let me lost my screen. Sorry about that. Can you share what specific messages really resonated the most with potential voters as you were running the campaign, and what topics, what issues, what did you find was most successful?
What I found, I know one that really grabbed a lot of attention. I really went in on the Gaza Israeli thing. And in fact, I wore the, how do you call it, the little flag-like thing free Palestine. We made some inward some progress with the Palestinian community here and in Milwaukee. In fact, I was very honored. One of my friends here, Palestinian, his father was a big man in the mosque, I think, and the father died uh, right after the election. And I guess he wanted me to know that he was proud of our campaign and that he voted for us.
Mhm.
But that message, and then also the message, and I think this is one of the reasons we were successful, and I believe we were successful. I really do. You know, uh, for someone at 83 years old, black in one of the worst districts in Wisconsin, to be able to pull these votes meant that Pete did a hell of a job, and our message got over. Uh, the Palestinian thing, we handled that, I think, good too, because I would personally get a lot of calls and a lot of feedback, especially from the Black community, pertaining to why are you so emphatic about the people in Palestine? And there gives me the chance, or anyone the chance, to say, well, and I'm quite frank with this, if you're Black and can't understand the plight of these people, then I think you need to do some soul searching. But otherwise, and before I get off, just say that's how we brought the message, raw and straight up. It's, we're different than the Democrats. We're different than the Republicans. We don't have anything to hide. We don't hide anything.
You know, the probably what made our point the best was Chester lives on a corner, and on the opposite corner is a large community center. And Joe Biden came to that community center,
Yes, yes.
and he brought his own people in from the outside and didn't invite any of the neighbors in. Nobody in the
None.
neighborhood. I mean, what does that tell you about how the major parties think about just the average person on the street?
Yeah, and they proved our point, if I may interject this, because the people they did allow in were the elite of, and especially this, someone just to bring it the way it was in the Black community, let the NAACP in, Urban League, but and that shows that division I was talking about the other night. Now, people living right in the neighborhood couldn't go over, and believe me, the agents let us know you got to move that car, move it now. They weren't nice at all. They were not nice at all, and which just helped us push our message better.
That's a great story. I'm gonna keep that one in my back pocket. In a few minutes, we're going to show some of those great videos, but before we do, we wanted to touch on your comment about the targeting specific parts of the congressional district. And did what criteria did you use to decide which ones to target? Which tactics did you apply in those regions that maybe you didn't apply in other parts of the district? Can you give us some feedback on how you made those decisions and what you actually did?
Certainly, Rick. Chester's message was targeted towards the Black, brown, and poor people, and those are the districts that we targeted because we knew not only that's where our message would resonate, but that if there's going to be an uprising of any sort, even if it's a philosophical uprising, that's where it has to come from. So we went and we looked at census data, and we looked at the past voting records, and we targeted several precincts in Racine, Kenosha, and Beloit that fit those, which are the three major cities in the district, and fit that criteria. And we hit them hard. I mean, you would walk down the street And in fact, we had the Poor People's Army marched
Yeah.
from the Republican convention in Milwaukee to the Democratic convention in Chicago. And they walked right through one of these neighborhoods, actually two of these neighborhoods. And I talked to some of them afterwards, and they said, my God, I can't believe, the support for Chester. The guy's going to win. How can he, how can he not win? It was a beautiful thing to see that type of support. And, there were a lot of people who put their signs up and they weren't even going to vote. They may have voted because Chester was on the ballot. And they had one of their neighbors and someone they could relate to to finally vote for. But they were more than willing to say, hey, I want the government has to be by the people, and Chester is the people. So we targeted that, and we got that, really got emotional responses from people in those areas. And like I said, it turned out to be very successful. We ran, well, did you want to look at the commercials before I talk about the results of them, or?
Yeah, we can do that. I have them queued up here. So let me, 1 second. So there's two of them.
We ran these on streaming TV and
Mhm.
on YouTube, and then of course, social media.
They're taking my tax dollars and killing people in Gaza. We've killed over 14,000 children. 14,000 children. The Green Party is the solution. We're the alternative. You have to understand that we're being bamboozled by the Democratic Party. My name is Chester Todd.
Okay, and then one more.
We really haven't had
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.
Poisoning in Racine. Democratic controlled community, we don't see any really serious options being thrown to the poor community. Oh, we have prisons. I'm Chester Todd, and I approve this message.
We felt those were very impactful.
Mhm.
And so we ran them on streaming TV. We spent, I don't know, $4,000, $4,500 on streaming TV ads. Streaming TV being, may show up on Netflix or Hulu or any of the many, many streaming services. And we targeted that to, in general, it was kind of general through the district, but most of the targeting went to our precincts that we have targeted. And also on YouTube. And on YouTube, you can track how long people are engaged with the commercial. And amazingly enough, the data was something like 65% of the people watched the whole YouTube commercial. I mean, I don't think I have ever watched a whole YouTube commercial. You just wait your 5 seconds and you click through it. So this message was getting across. And William Howell, who put these together, just a fantastic editor of video, and he also shot the video. Did an amazing job, and we owe him a lot for that as a volunteer for the campaign. So it was very, very, very effective. So we ran those videos, and we ran some banner ads on websites, certain selected websites, and I think that was very, very impactful. So in addition to having Chester's name all over these neighborhoods, we also had a video presence, and we were on their phones and on their laptops and on their desktops. And as I think I mentioned, 2.1% of the vote district wide, 7 to 11% in the districts that we really campaigned in.
I've lived in the neighborhood I'm in since 1964. My parents bought the house, and it was all white neighborhood. So there's a couple of white families left, and we had skipped their house, a couple of them, because I said, well, maybe, you know, they might be for the other part, one of the other parties. And all of a sudden, I get people knocking on the door like, "Where's my sign?" Yeah, everybody else has got a sign. Well, I didn't know, you know. And it was just thrilling. It was thrilling not because of Chester Todd, but because if you bought into Chester, you had to buy into the philosophy and ideologies that I am representing. And I think our messages were very clear. For instance, when Jill was here the first time when I met her, uh, the audience was mostly white. And I said to the audience, I said, look, I know there's white people in this audience whose table and freezer looks like mine, empty, you know. So that takes away the aspects of dealing purely with race. We're dealing with class. And see, once we can get that message of class over, now we're really talking about what the party represents. And it went over.
Yeah, that's great. Can one of you speak to, I'm going to kind of shift topics a little bit, talking about media, ballot access, debate inclusion. Can you speak to how you navigated that part of the campaign?
Certainly. We knew that Green Party candidates and any third party candidates really don't get covered by your local press and your, statewide press. We get ignored. Occasionally they'll write something on us and call us a spoiler. And I don't know if all press is good press, but so we made an early decision in the campaign. We said we're going to create some news articles and press out of sources that don't usually cover us. We knew that Wisconsin was going to be a battleground state in the presidential election. And we knew that it was going to be very contentious and that the press would be coming to Wisconsin. So and we also knew from prior campaigns that a lot of the foreign press would be coming. So well before, I don't know, this was probably in April or May. I had sent out contacts to press outlets throughout the world, knowing that they send reporters here. They have no idea who to talk to, and they're looking for somebody to talk to. And we were fortunate that they must have kept that in their files because we got coverage on Portuguese media, German TV. We got an amazing spot on Turkish TV. And these reporters were coming over to Chester's house and interviewing him on his porch. It was wonderful. AFP, which is like the Associated Press of Europe, came and did a huge article. And that turned into the other press saw that. And we think that that's why we were, got a very prominent position in Politico and New York Times. So we were able to build some credibility that way. And then after that, we planted the seed so that Chester was able to get on Milwaukee TV station and Madison, Wisconsin TV station, and also on local radio and Earl Ingram show with talk show on the radio, which is listened to by, people who would probably be friendly to the Green Party. So we played it, and fortunately that kind of worked out. That it elevated the campaign and the perception of the campaign, so that I think some people took us more seriously than they would if we had not done that.
I think we did 2 podcasts too.
Yes. Several podcasts. Revolutionary Blackout Network.
Yeah.
Anyway, there were several prominent podcasts.
Didn't make it to Savvy Sav, but trying.
Next time.
And speaking of podcasts, I think you were on one last night, Pete. Do you want to tell us about that?
Illinois Green Party podcast. It was a great experience. We had a lot of fun, and we even stayed on topic for a little while.
All right. Well,
I was invited. I didn't say this in my bio, but I'm I'm a candidate for Wisconsin's Secretary of State in 2026. So we're just kicking off that campaign. PeteKarras.com. There's not much of a website up there, but the most important part is there. It's the donate button.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, speaking of the donate button, I'm going to remind everyone, maybe you came in late and didn't hear, we have a donor who's willing to match everything we raise tonight as a result of tonight's webinar, whatever this is. A 1-for-1 match for every dollar we raise up to $500. So if you can give $10, it turns into 20. If you can give 100, it turns into 200. And you all know the basic math. So please make a donation at our website, gccc.us, or just put a pledge in the chat and someone will get in touch with you, probably me, about making that happen. So back to our script, which we're fairly close to. We were thinking people would want to hear about what tactics worked well during the campaign in terms of voter outreach, and also how you handled fundraising and how those relate, and budgeting as well. Fundraising is one thing, budgeting is another, but they obviously go hand in hand. And how did that evolve during the campaign, and how did it shape your tactics and strategies?
Sure.
Thanks.
We had raised about $15,000 for the campaign. A little less than half of that came from the Wisconsin Green Party efforts, which was wonderful. It was great to have the support of our state party. We weren't in a situation where the candidate can sit down and call all these people who have, wondering if they should, who check their 401k balance every day. Because, Chester's contacts and the people in his neighborhood and the people he work with just don't have the money to, write $100 and $200 checks. So that was a reality that we faced. By developing the validity of the campaign and by being very active on social media, including and especially on Twitter, Chester was able to make some contacts that we had people around the country that were, writing significant checks to Chester because they really liked his message. And I know I'm kissing Chester's you-know-what probably too much, and I'm embarrassing the hell out of him. But the guy speaks the truth. He's eloquent, and he really symbolizes what the Green Party is to me. And I think that also resonated with, other folks. And we're fortunate enough to be able to connect with them during social media. And then, of course, we had people in, the Racine, Kenosha, Beloit area who we approached, and we were able to get, $1,500 donations. So that was kind of the way we approached fundraising. We didn't do direct mail fundraising. It's very expensive, other ways of doing it. And I was pretty happy with, the $15,000 we raised, and I think we spent it very efficiently.
I think you did. And it's amazing. All fun aside, I was amazed at what you did with what little we had,
Chester, part of the question was connecting with people. Why don't you tell the story about when we visited UW Whitewater?
Oh, yeah, well, I'd never been there anyway, although my master's is from the UW system. But we walked through, seeing some people. We met with the student union. Am I correct? That was the guy.
Yeah, it was the student council,
Student council, rather.
student
Yeah.
Congress government.
Yeah.
But before we got there, we ran into a bunch of the black athletes.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like they met their savior, I'll tell you. They couldn't get enough of Chester.
Well, the thing is, young kids, black or white or whatever, got to see us as adults put forth the effort before we go to them and ask them to do that. And I was glad to to just maybe instill something for the future for these kids to think about. Because as we see now, it's too bad they don't really know what some of us sitting here know, about what's happening to their future already. Yeah, the interview alone was good there at Whitewater, and then someone said, "Well, Brian's right down the hall," and that was the incumbent, Brian Stiles. So I went down. He came out, shook my hand, very nice, very polite young man, uh, and I think we filmed that too, didn't we?
We
Uh,
did. We did. That was the first time Chester and Brian Style, the Republican incumbent, won, but they had met.
Yeah, yeah. Made a lot of people mad too back here.
It did.
Yeah. So,
All right.
oh, I think it's my turn, Rick.
Oh, I was having so much fun.
So you mentioned you raised $15,000. What would you have done if you had doubled the budget? Where would you have spent the money?
We would have expanded the number of precincts that we targeted.
With what tactics?
Definitely. Because we really saturated the ones that we were aggressive in. And we would have definitely done that. And we probably would have done a little more district-wide.
Oh, yes.
Because we did, we had support in Walworth County, which is the middle of nowhere. And we may get some, open some new eyes in those areas. So I think we would have continued doing what we did and just expanded it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of my goals, but we couldn't fulfill it, was to get to Beloit. I wanted to get to the urban areas where mostly Black people or Hispanics or even poor folks were in, because those are the people that you have to sell the message to. Proletariat.
Those folks saw the videos and the signage, but they didn't see Chester.
Mm.
All right. Well, part of my enthusiasm was I wanted to announce that we just received a $100 donation. So thank you for that. And we're 1/5 of
Thank
the
you.
way to our matching fund donors goal of 500. So if anyone else wants to chip in, and we have just a couple more questions we want to bring up, and then we'll be opening the floor in a few minutes to questions. So if you have questions you already know, please put them in the chat so we can make that a fairly fluid process. So the next question is, what advice would you give to yourself if you're going to run again, or to someone else thinking about running for office with the Green Party? You have a couple of bullet points you want to give us?
Well, I would say try don't being everything to everybody. Do some research into, first of all, if the election is winnable. I mean, we all feel like we can win, but some elections are more winnable than others, and set realistic goals that, what you may not win this time, but you're building for the future
I like
and
that.
changing some people's minds.
I like that. Yeah, because I was thinking right along the same lines. We do think alike. But if there was anything it's not that I would do it different, but I would push the message harder. I'm a socialist and a sociologist, but at the same time, if it worked this time, if I got a B plus, I could have got an A. So I should have probably pushed harder, the message. Because I think anyone who's running under our flag has to know some of the good stuff about Marx, Engels, Durkheim, some of those people, because you can't sell it if you don't know it.
Yeah, that's good.
And it,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
And it also opens people's eyes. Uh, and I'll make this quick. Hardly any black people in the mass and aggregate would know anything about those names. You and I know how important the message, what we're trying to give to people, you know. And so it's just, if you're stepping into it, that's what I found out. But I stepped into it, and it's good that I had already studied this stuff so I could bring it straight to people and say, hey, see here, this is what's happening to you, you know? Uh, I think we did a good job.
Yeah, and Chester, I mean, you didn't really study that a whole lot for the first 50 years of your life.
No.
And so it was new to you learned new things and took hold and really researched it. And other people can do that too at any age. So, if you plant the seed, you very much could see people, following your footsteps with it educationally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So hopefully there's some future candidates and future campaign managers in the audience. So I'd like to kind of understand, as people who've gone through it, what support did you receive? I know you mentioned support from the Wisconsin Green Party, support from the GCCC, support from other organizations and things like that. What was the most helpful? What would you encourage people to ask for and expect? And what did that look like, getting support? Because running a campaign and being a candidate, I have to imagine, is really challenging. It's really exhausting, and the help it's very helpful. So can you tell us a little bit about that and what other people should look for if they're choosing to run or manage a campaign?
One thing in our case, everybody who gave us a donation and supported us, whether it was uh $2 or $6,000, we really valued that, because behind um behind every donation at any size, there's emotion behind it and support behind it, and it creates a bond between the candidate and the person giving their money. And in that sense, it doesn't matter whether it's $1 or $100 or $1,000. So it's and I think, Chester, I think I speak for both of us in that we really when we would get a donation, we would really get an emotional high, and that motivated us to, work harder and do more and talk to more people and make better decisions, because we realize that those are the people that the campaign's really running for. It's not
Yeah.
about Chester, and certainly not about me. It's about the people that we're we we're making the bond with, the relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suggest, for fundraising, that you go into that with the same attitude. But people have to realize that you will never raise any money if you don't ask for money.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot be afraid to do that. A lot of candidates, say, I don't know how, I've never asked anybody for money, and then I'll owe them later something. And that's just not the way it is. These are political campaigns, and political campaigns need money. And most candidates run, and a lot of people like them, and they will give them money. And it may be a dollar, and it may be 100, and it may be 1,000, but it creates that bond, and it gives you the working capital that you need.
Yes.
There's just a few things in campaigns that are just must that a lot of candidates that I've seen over the years don't do. One of them is not asking for money. The other, and maybe not in Congress, but in smaller state senate or aldermanic rates, is they don't knock on doors because of a fear. But once they get over those two things, the sky's the limit.
Right.
Oh, Rick, you're muted.
I just noticed. Thanks.
Yep.
So I see some questions are starting to come in. We had one other, which was there's really two, but what what made you decide to run as a Green, and were some of the biggest challenges you faced being a Green candidate or campaign manager, which sort of segues into a question from Justin saying, could we talk about the protege, which I'm not sure if someone is stepping up to follow in Chester's footsteps, or are we still looking for that person? Or so there's a big batch of questions all at once, and then we'll go to see if we have any other questions. We have some time.
Chester, I'm going to let you talk about why you decided to run as Green. I'll just say the protege is still a work in progress, and he may run in the 1st congressional district, and Chester may run again in the next the next election in 2026. And
Yeah, I'll get my
we're
electric
discussing it.
scooter out. And, no, I stopped voting for Democrats in 1990, 91. Some people have heard my story on that. And Clinton had a lot to do with that, because there's no way I was going to vote for him, because I had researched him. So I left there. I started in the 90s. I didn't mess with the Democrats until Obama. And that to me probably was a mistake. But I was so proud of the moment. The Green Party, I searched around for, and I voted for Socialist Party, voted. And then one day, and this is honest truth, I was watching YouTube and I seen this white lady being interviewed, and they had asked her, well, if you were to become president, I said, wow, who is this? And said, well, how would you address the issue of police violence in urban areas? And this lady says, I would have, what do you call them, community policing, the review boards, yeah. And I said, well, who in the hell is this? And so they said, well, Jill Stein. So, of course, I go do my research. And then, let's see, I voted for Howie Hawkins and Angela Walker, I think it was. And then one day, I touched base with Dave Schwab, was the first person that I touched base with in the Green Party, in the Wisconsin Green Party. And I must have bugged the hell out of him for about 2 years. At one time I'd call him, and Dave, he don't answer half the time. I said, oh God, the guy's probably got my name, and said, no, it's that guy. So Dave was actually the guy that pushed me into the party, more or less, really helped me. I don't say push. And one day, Pete's on the telephone, my wife's on the couch, and Pete's on the speaker. And Pete says, why don't you run for Congress? And I said, my wife said, yeah, why not? You got nothing to lose. Well, for those of you who don't know, I'm 83 and my wife's 58, so she's a boss. So I was forced. But no, to sum it up, I love the party. I love for what it stands for. No other party puts reparations up in big block letters. Now, am I satisfied with what we've done so far? No, I think we need to do more. But I can also understand why we haven't. But that's why I got into this. The other thing is, it's a message of necessity. It was one thing before the current situation. It was, here's another party, and we got another form of governance for you, and you're being used. But now it's more than just talk. we have to push our agenda hard because, as you know, and anyone out here listening, we're the only solution right now. We're the only thing that's going to work.
Oh,
We
oh,
we
go
will
ahead.
be the electoral arm of the revolution. That's
Yes.
what we're positioned to be,
Mhm.
where we're positioned, where whatever form that takes.
Yes.
We have another question in the chat from Nick. So with the limitations on funds and campaign crew and all that good stuff, have you considered running for state or local positions rather than a congressional seat?
You're talking to me, huh? Well, I can't run for local because I'm very transparent. I'm an ex-offender. And here in Racine especially, that's a no-no. And I don't have a pardon, and the governor and I are not friends, so he wouldn't give me one if I even asked him. So, but we do need, I have my eye on a young man right now who just was placed on the city council because our older lady died, and I'm talking about Tyler, Pete, and I think it's close. I might can swing him over to Green, you know. Uh, so you just keep working on it, you know.
Mhm. Yeah. Pete, I'm curious what your thoughts are on, because you were an alderman, an elected
I
alderman,
was.
on the value of running for a local election like that versus a congressional election.
There isn't as much glory at the alderman level, or
Mhm.
aldermanic level, city council level. But there's a heck of a lot of fulfillment. It is easier to win. If you have an issue you're passionate about that your constituents are also passionate about, it makes it easier to win. I mean, mine was the reason I decided to run was there was an arrest of 970 people at a theater fundraiser because the Racine Police Department was tipped off that this was going to be an industrial rave. The police department shows up, 40 cops, SWAT team, everything else. They see nothing going on, and they decided they didn't want to be embarrassed, so they give everybody a $970 ticket for being patron to a disorderly house. And that's when, the local Green Party worked with the ACLU, and we got all these victims of this atrocity together, and we organized them. And they all showed up at their initial municipal court appearance, and I think out of 970, about 940 demanded jury trials. Then we were able to get a victory. We got the the Racine City Council to throw out the tickets and issue apologies and change their ordinances and do several things. And I said to myself, if just some measly Green Party guy in Racine working for a local can do this, think of the impact that somebody on the inside could do. So I ran for office. And people in my district were also aghast that this sort of thing would happen. Just because if for nothing else, it was just such a waste of money and such a waste of resources. So I ran on that issue. I ran on a police action issue in a district in the middle of Racine, and I got 70%. So if you can grab onto something that resonates with people, it's a lot easier to win at a local level. It's you can't talk. I mean, some people aren't made for it because their main issues that they really like are war and peace. We had someone in Racine, Chester's friend Ken Jorgen, who ran for a seat on the city council at one point, and he ran on his whole campaign was we need to get out of the war in Iraq. So it didn't work in that sense. But but yeah, I guess, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
wonderful.
All right, and so that was Nick and Hawaii. I did want to shout out to Jordan, who's here, who's considering or maybe decided on a run for Congress. And I know at one point another person here in the audience was considering a run for Congress. And I did want to also point out that any members of the Green Congressional Campaign Committee are happy to come to your state or local meetings and talk to you about candidate recruitment, because we're here, we want to be from start to finish on helping candidates and local parties to grow by running candidates. We've been already to a few meetings with a few state and local parties. If your state or local party's having one soon, please send us an invitation to info@gccc.us, and we'll make sure that we send a representative from our committee to talk about various aspects about running for Congress. We're much more than just a PAC. We're very involved with the day-to-day help that we know campaigns need. A lot of us have been candidates or worked on campaigns. I do want to mention that one of the things we're doing is a job board. And I know Star put at the very beginning in the chat a link to a form, but one of the ways we're trying to help candidates is by getting people who are either professional or volunteers who have campaign experience that can jump in and help in campaigns that may be lacking. We didn't cut the video that we showed earlier for Chester, but we did have a person on our committee who on his own dime traveled to, I believe, 7 different congressional districts, cut very similar videos in the district with the candidate, interacting with his constituency and with the public. We did the media buys for them, similar to what Chester did, and all of them did really well and had a lot better results because we were able to do that, and we want to be able to continue to do that. And that's one of the many things that this committee is going to be doing. I'm not seeing any other questions. I believe aldermen are nonpartisan. Pete can correct me if I'm wrong. And I see Starlene also put in the chat, we're getting close to our goal. We've had 3 more donations. Our total is 225 so far. So there's still room for a few more donations that will be matched dollar for dollar. So I don't know if there's any other questions. I see Kalia has joined. She's also on the committee. So introduction to one of our other committee members. Welcome. Thanks for being here. So if there aren't any other questions, Hallie, am I skipping something? I think I keep cutting you off. I'm sorry if I do.
No, that's okay. We're both just very enthusiastic, so no worries. Yeah, I think just a couple final things. This is obviously being recorded, and we'll have it on YouTube in the next couple days, so you can rewatch it, share it, leave a comment, all that good stuff. This is a recurring. Oh, actually, DJ, yeah, we have another question.
Great.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My question was going to be about running for state legislatures as well, running for those types of local offices, and what advice do you have for candidates who are planning on running for state legislative seats?
I can jump in there. You run a campaign to, it's obviously less population than it is running for a seat in Congress, so it's more manageable. So I think you're able to reach more people and still do the targeting depending on what resources you have. What I found with candidates that I've worked where I've been a campaign manager or involved in campaigns or ran for state office is one of the big challenges is there are so many state issues. On the national scene, you can kind of pick up any newspaper and know that it's about, war, peace, cutting Social Security, immigration, the big issues. But at the state level, there's a lot more different issues that matter to a lot of different people. and being educated about those issues is really, really important, because it's pretty easy to get embarrassed when somebody asks you about a hot issue, and to you it's an obscure issue. So like in Wisconsin, we have wispolitics.com and the Wheeler Report, who they're news aggregators, and pretty much anything going on and any press release that goes on goes to those sites, and you can look them up. So if in your state you do have some type of aggregator, it's good to spend 10 minutes every morning looking through that and getting some different opinions and forming your own opinions on that. And I found, looking at that, there were issues that I never knew existed that I ended up being passionate about. And of course, when you're passionate about something, that resonates with your potential voters.
I also think that one has to know how to appeal cross-culturally when you're running, especially for a statewide or even a national office. I think the Democrats try that, but they screw it up every time. Republicans don't care, but we have, we have to understand how to address the Black urban area, the Hispanic urban area. Now, and where the other parties make a mistake, to me, is that they try to approach each and every political issue as if it affects all the different ethnic groups in America and classifications of people the same way, and it doesn't. And I think that's where our messages can be very heavy and gain support to, once we let people know, we recognize that your issues and your problems are a little bit different than mine over here, but we do have a solution for that. This party is fantastic. We just got to find a way to get this message out to people. Slap them upside the head. Do something like that. No, don't do that. But
Chester, you're so right. You have to talk to people about issues that people care about.
Yeah, you got to meet them where they're at.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember Paul Ryan, who was Speaker of the House and vice presidential candidate, was the first district congressman for years.
Yes.
And he came to Racine, and he was going to have a town hall meeting on issues that mattered to urban people. So
Yeah.
all these people showed up, and they wanted to hear about things that they really wanted to about their community. And he got up and he spent the first 40 minutes giving his presentation on healthcare. Nobody gave a hoot. Nobody cared. He had an opportunity there to have a really good discussion, and who knows, maybe even flip some votes his way and flip some support his way. But he screwed up because he talked a foreign language to everybody in the room.
Yeah. I remember that I got a call from CNN. They wanted me to write out a question for him. And my question was, how do you explain blaming minority males for poverty in the United States? They wouldn't use it. They threw that one in the trash probably when they got it.
Going back to our previous question real quick, Nick had a follow-up, Pete, for you. Was your alderman race nonpartisan or partisan, and were you a Green when you were elected? And he mentioned that Chester mentioned there's someone as an alderman right now, he's trying to turn into a Green. So the question is, were you already a Green, and was it partisan or nonpartisan?
Sure. I was already a Green, and I made a decision to run as a Green, even though it was a nonpartisan office. And fortunately, and I know this isn't the case maybe anywhere anymore, but we had a city editor who really bought into that. And there were only like 2 contested races that year. So we got quite a bit of coverage, and they framed it, Green candidate Karras, right on the in the local newspaper. And there was also an alternative newspaper that did the same thing. And everybody in the district, in fact, probably everybody in the city knew that I was a Green Party person when I was running, although it was nonpartisan. So nobody knew much about the Green Party at that time.
Mm-mm.
And I think at that time also they remembered Ralph Nader's run and all the controversy about that. But they also knew, it was a different time. They said, yeah, he may have spoiled election, but Ralph Nader sure made sense. So there were some good feelings about the in general about the Greens at that time. But yeah, technically it was a nonpartisan race.
Yeah.
I don't think we can afford to let this moment slide by. If this don't turn some people in our direction, then I don't know what won't. Actually, this administration is doing our job for us if we hook on to the side. I don't know how to explain what I'm saying, but they're actually doing, they're showing what we're trying to tell people, and it's becoming reality. And so we won't have to, we will have to stay on track and sell, but it's going to be easier to sell in some areas now.
Justin, you have your hand up.
Hi, I was wondering if I could ask another question. I submitted one by chat earlier, but I didn't know we were allowed to talk and ask a question. And as a member of the GCCC, along with Hallie and Rick, of course, that our fundraiser, we had a really great time in the last election cycle, did a lot of things, different things for candidates, again, from our field organizer that helped do graphics and maybe put up a website or help produce literature or get some of the content for these video ads that we cut for candidates. We also try to help get candidates some airtime with podcasters, right, on independent media. And I just, my question to, and also I wanted to just mention too, that we're talking a lot about these local and state level races. One thing we heard when we talked with former congressional candidates that we helped out last election cycle is like, they helped spark some interest in the Green Party in the areas where they ran. So, you're running in a larger district with a House race, but you're touching a lot more people and maybe, lighting some fires there in a good way, right? But the question to Chester and Pete, and thank you both for being here. You guys are such a wonderful couple to watch you operate and what you do. What is the most important things that the Green Congressional Campaign Committee can do to help out candidates like Chester in future election cycles? And so great to hear that you are considering a run again, Chester.
Yeah, I'll be 85 years old.
Chester, you don't look a day over 83.
Yeah.
Part of it, believe it or not, is just knowing that you're there for us. And I think that means a lot. We were fortunate in that, Chester's been around a while, 83 years. So he's got some experience behind him. I've run a lot of campaigns. I was elected, and I've always had a strong interest in running campaigns and analyzing campaigns. So we have, we kind of had a base, I think, that most congressional candidates won't have in the Green Party. And we're also fortunate enough to develop our own video team who could put together our own graphics team. But a lot of candidates won't have that access or won't know somebody or will know somebody, but they turn out to be horrible at it. And I think that's where the GCCC can really step in and do some of the things. I mean, really, when you look at Green Party campaigns, a lot of people are doing this with a great heart, but they don't have a lot of experience doing it. And just having, I mean, doing webinars like this is amazing. I mean, if I was in that situation, I was going to run next year, I would come right here and you know, watch this and your other webinars. And I would definitely be contacting the committee saying, you know, what steps do I have to take? What are my initial steps? How do I stay focused? Because that's one of the reasons campaigns fail is they don't stay focused. And you know, I mean, how do I overcome the emotional part of it? Somebody to hold my hand or have my back. And I really think that's what the GCCC would be there for if we are in that position. I'll tell you, I mean, I used you guys, your members, Justin, we've talked, your video person, Ariel, we helped us a lot during the campaign.
Oh, Ariel,
And
fantastic.
a lot of it was just advice, you know, just advice to help us get our heads around things and have another person listen to our thoughts and tell us if they made sense or if we should be going a different way. And connecting people. I mean, Chester, how many people have you connected with during this campaign that you didn't know before that you now have mutual respect with?
Brother Dublin out in North Carolina, I think, and Keymon over in DC. So many people. And it really made me feel good that I wasn't the only person that felt the way that I do. And to get good advice and suggestions from other Greens, you know. So yeah.
It's an important organization.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I say we blow that 500 goal out of the water and everybody get their credit card out and start clicking because this is important.
Yes. 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 This is very important. There's never been a time in my lifetime that it is this important. I got 29 grandkids and 21 great grandkids. And I'm in this fight to make sure, or to try to make sure, they have a future. You know, and it's important. If I can sell that to other people, if you don't give a damn about yourself, at least care about those that's coming after you. And we're the only solution for their future. Hey, I might use that on the stop next time.
I hope you do. Well, thank you everyone for coming tonight. This has been a great discussion, at least from my perspective, and I hope you all got as much out of it as I did. Hallie, you want to take us out?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, this will be on YouTube in the next couple days on the GCCC's YouTube channel. Our next one is June 26th, so mark your calendars. We'll have, you know, we'll see if we can get better guests. I don't know if it's possible, but we'll always, always be trying. And then we are also the headline for A&M on July 30th, so some good stuff coming up. And I think that's it. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mahalo and aloha.